Welcome to day 14 of the most successful Russian propaganda campaign in U.S. history. More successful than Hillary's emails, more successful than the Obama birther controversy, and all of them involving our favorite fascist from Queens, Donald Trump. Fact: Joe Biden had a terrible performance at the CNN sponsored media event that some are calling a debate. Fact: Russian propaganda is most effective when it starts with a single fact and spins out the falsehoods and the negative themes from there. And here's another fact: you can measure the success of a Russian propaganda campaign by the degree to which the media takes the baton and runs with it. Just ask the British. And while you're at it, ask them if they would like to re-vote on Brexit right about now. This media circus about Biden's health and his abilities just refuses to leave town. Every day, another Democratic politician and another celebrity add their name to a growing list of people asking for Biden to step down. Day in and day out, Biden goes out on the campaign trail to show that he still has what it takes. He's currently hosting a NATO summit. He sat for one interview, doing a press conference, and sitting for another interview. It doesn't matter. The list still grows. Convicted criminal Donald Trump, on the other hand, actually goes into hiding after the debate. He was benched for 10 straight days in Mar-a-Lago because every time he opens his mouth, he loses voters. And then when he did surface, he rambled on again about Hannibal Lecter, and then talked about how he's rambling on about Hannibal Lecter, and went on about batteries, and then literally froze for 10 seconds. But nada. Zip from the press. And this is how you know that you are in the middle of a Russian propaganda campaign. The facts keep adding up, but the chorus just continues along its merry way. And these calls for resignation are based on fantasy and perception about people thinking they know what the electorate is thinking. Well, newsflash, Peter Welch, you don't know what the electorate is thinking, but you know who does know something about what the electorate is thinking? The people who are taking polls. And the latest round of polls are all pointing to the same thing. Biden is not losing ground based on the debate. So let's just take a look at these polls. On Monday, USA Today released a post-debate survey that found 85% of Democrats would vote for Biden if the election were tomorrow, a 4-point increase from 81% in March. That trend shows the electorate rallying to Biden. And sure, one could make a case that they are rallying to prevent Trump's Project 2025 more than they are backing Biden himself. But does it matter? They are still going to vote for Biden. And at 85%, that's a signal for the people saying, for the good of the country, to stop playing games and back Biden for the good of the country. An ABC poll has shown that the debate has done nothing to move the needle. Let's take a look.
Candidates. Biden viewed unfavorably by just 42% of the country. Trump's numbers considerably worse, only 34% favorability. That is 25 points underwater. Yet, despite all of this, George, this is a dead heat of a race. In the 2 weeks of the debate, so much has changed, but the horse race truly hasn't. Donald Trump up a single point, well within the margin of error. For contrast, back in April, he led by 2 points. We're basically where we've been all along, George.
And just yesterday, a new multi-university research project also found that the debate did nothing to change voter preferences. And actually, this poll, which was undertaken by Rutgers University, the University of Michigan, and some other universities that, quite frankly, don't have the football programs these universities have, but nonetheless participated. That poll showed that Biden is actually doing a better job of holding on to his supporters after the debate than Trump. So after relentless assault from the media to step down, Biden is actually gaining ground. Imagine if the media would stop doing Russia's job and stop pushing this agenda. Biden would probably be surging. It's time for the adults to take control. And that's exactly what Gretchen Whitmer, governor of the great state of Michigan, did in an interview with CNN. Democratic governors like Whitmer and Gavin Newsom have states to run. They are on the ground floor of environmental disasters, of seemingly intractable homelessness, of providing care for vulnerable children, and school systems that work for everyone. Governors know how much help they received from Biden, especially during the pandemic, and what an unmitigated disaster Trump was as president. Gone from our collective memories are the days when Trump used to slow walk or withhold aid to blue states. Let's listen to what Whitmer has to say about playing these games.
I think that there's a possibility he could change his mind.
I don't. I have heard nothing to the contrary. I understand that there are people with different opinions. I understand that some are playing fantasy football and want to just pick a couple of random leaders that they like across the country and design a ticket. That's just not how this works. We have a president who's gotten the nomination, who's earned it, who is barreling toward convention. And unless he decides something differently, this is the field and this is the high stakes.
Whitmer hit the nail on the head here. Well-intentioned people like George Clooney, who have legitimate concerns, are nonetheless falling prey to a game. Whitmer likens this to fantasy football, and it very much is. It is a fantasy that there is a mechanism to replace Biden without chaos. It is a fantasy that you can give up on a wildly successful incumbent this late in the game and not suffer the consequences. And if anyone is an expert on fantasy football, it's Gretchen Whitmer. Because let's face it, until last year, the Detroit Lions were nothing but a fantasy team for like 20 years. Ordinarily, I'd feel bad for picking on the Lions, but hey, you guys fired Jim Caldwell, a successful African-American head coach. You deserved that karma. And I know what you're thinking, I'm digressing, but I'm not. Why did the Detroit Lions fire their successful head coach, Jim Caldwell? Because that's what billionaire owners like to do. Take control. And make no mistake about it, this Biden should resign campaign is a billionaire's campaign. Billionaires trying to take control of a situation because they don't like what they see. You'll notice the Green Bay Packers don't have a billionaire owner. Okay, that was a digression. But this billionaires campaign based on Russian propaganda is a fantasy, and it is a game. What most people advocating for resignation don't recognize is that the game here is chess, and the Russians are 2 steps ahead of you. Even if it were possible to smoothly hand this presidential campaign over to Vice President Kamala Harris, the Russian propaganda machine has already prepared their negative campaign avalanche against her. Indeed, they've already started floating their test balloons. Here are the 3 themes they are going to pounce on. 1, Kamala Harris is pretty stupid. Not true, but of course, we all know what they can do by editing things out of context. 2, Kamala Harris isn't really black, she just pretends to be. I'm not even going to touch that, but I've already seen the comparative footage they have prepared that will prove she just plays at being black. And 3, they're going to smear her by claiming she was sexually promiscuous while attending Howard University, which she attended because she's not really black, remember? Contradiction? Who cares? This is a Russian and Republican propaganda campaign. Facts and contradictions like why can men be promiscuous but women can't don't matter. But facts do matter. And there's one crucial difference between this Russian propaganda campaign and the others. Democrats are more mobilized on social media and are pushing back more effectively. For 14 days now, Democratic activists have taken to social media demanding that legacy media focus on Trump, or at the very least, stop using a double standard when covering Trump. And the pushback campaign is working. The New York Times, which is bleeding subscribers for their role in calling for Biden to resign, has finally advocated for Trump to resign. Is it too little, too late? Yes, it probably is. And is it caused by the financial impact of lost subscribers? Most certainly. But it is also the result of the enormous amount of pressure from social media to take this specific action. And they did. We need to keep that pressure up. It is too easy to lose sight of a simple fact. Donald Trump does not stand a chance against a strong, united, and motivated Democratic base. We have to keep talking, keep posting, and work on voter turnout. We have to make the blue tsunami in November a reality. Fact: House and Senate supermajorities are a real and obtainable possibility if Democrats increase their own turnout. This whole thing can be won just by Democratic turnout. That's fact, not fantasy. So the only question that remains is, what are you going to do to make that happen? I'm Anthony Vincent Gallo for Occupy Democrats.